All right, welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and man, is it a fun day today, Schlags. It is exciting, to say the least. I know everybody is juiced up and ready to go. Jeez.
I do.
Juiced
I
up.
do.
Jake asking all the questions that are firing in here. Those are great questions from the chat. Who has a higher squat max? For sure, that's Schlags. And we'll get into all that. We're going to have Jake Butt on with us today. Going to be super excited. Super excited to get everything going and get everything rolling here as I try to navigate all these different notifications and calls that are coming in. It's been a busy day, Schlags, but an exciting.
Busy.
We were both at the game. You were down there. You sat with your crew, with your family up in the stands. Who all did you bring and what did they think about the game?
Let me tell you something. It was fantastic. I was in section 317. Cowboys Stadium is hard to navigate, guys. I think a lot of Buckeye fans figure that out as you're in there because, you know, the bottom one, twos, ones, you're cool. You go down. But if you got to get to 4, you got to go up. But if you got to get to 3, you got to go all the way up to 4, down, and then, you know, all the way like walk on it and then down to your section, which was great because you walk right up the stairs. You got a toilet. You got some snacks and stuff. It was fantastic. I had JT Barrett's parents right behind me. I had the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer crew right in front of me. And then to my left I brought my youngest son, Making Memories, right? My wife was there. And then all of my in-laws, and it was just fantastic. It was a great experience. We stood the entire time. I took notes on my phone of the game. I wasn't like filming stuff. I was just like taking notes for this show while I was watching it. But what a great experience. And for me, Coach, you know, being around these guys, just watching them perform at a high level and me going back and thinking about the January, the February, the March, you know, all of that time and how that prepares you for this and the life lessons. I'm trying to talk to my kid about it, who's oblivious, but that's okay. I'm just planting the seeds. Somebody else, God knows, will have to make them grow when it comes to him, but at least I'm planting them. So it was great. And I literally was right above the band looking at the goal line stand. I had a great seat. I had the best seat in the house, in my opinion. Like I was talking about what they were running, how they were bracketing JJ, who's filling what. It was fantastic.
Who's filling what hole? All the movement, all the football, just getting.
How about you? What were you doing? Did you give AJ or the boys any vanilla nut taps while you were down there on the sideline? Like what was your take? Because it's different field level than it is higher.
So I was down there, and it was fun. Like I got over there at the stadium around 2:30, ran in, I did some hits with Dom. I had some radio stuff that I was doing back and forth. Ran in my guy Jake and our guy Jake Budd, who's going to be joining us. He was upstairs talking to him a little bit. I talked to my agent before the game. But I did some more stuff with Dom. You know, we had some stuff with the fan with Stephanie Odie down there. Like I was thinking, like, man, my kids wanted to come to this game. I'm like, you know, I don't know what I would have done with them because my wife was there. Like I was running around the whole time. So I really didn't have the opportunity then to engage and like watch. Like, and then I was down, you know, on the field, you know, for some of the game and hanging out there. So you don't get like the same vantage point, but it was an awesome deal to see everybody, the post game. Really, I mean, the guys were super focused up, like before the game. Like, you know, you talk to them, like, no, man, I'm gonna talk to these guys. Like, you give them a fist bump, like, all right, man, you walk by, like, go get it. Like, that's it. Like, there's no speeches. Like, these guys, if you're not ready to go at this point, you need to check your pulse. But what's really special is to get to see them after the game, and they did a great job. Schlags, like when we were playing, like they'd have the parents like herd it away, and like they'd be under the stadium. The Cotton Bowl did a great job of bringing the parents out and getting a chance, you know, to see and talk to the guys that are coming back and through, and to see Ryan and just how deserving he was of that moment, and knowing they still have one more left, but my goodness, they just keep answering the bell whenever they need to. And then like to be down there with the parents and to see Jack Sawyer's parents and Cody Simons and all these different guys that I've got a chance to be around over the last 4 and 5 years, and to know the culmination of their work and everything they put into it, all the sacrifices that they've made, and the sacrifices that they've made with really without any success of significance tied to it. And so people always talk like it's easy to sacrifice when you know, like, if I do this, I'll get that. And in sports, that's not how it works. You give up so much of your life, you give up so much of who you are as a person, you give so much of your body, and you do all that. So like, and with merely the hope that it's going to work out, because there are no guarantees. And so they've done this for the last 3-4 years, and they haven't had that guarantee, that success, that payoff. And so to see it now where they've just kept inching closer and closer and closer, it's been really fun, and it's been awesome to see. And you can feel the love from their parents, like between those guys, and knowing just how much they care about each other, how much they care about their coach, and to watch the success that they've ultimately had. It's been really special. And so to be down there, like, and to give a chance to hug like their parents, make it, it's hard, it's really hard, but it's all worth it. But it doesn't always feel like that until you get to the end. And they're getting to the end. You can see it now. The vision is in their mind. Like, you can see the horizon. So excited for those guys, but just super, super juiced to know like everything that they went through and that they've come out the other side now, and they're ready to have success.
Yeah, I mean, Emeka was talking about like pregame, like this is not my last day. Like January 20th will be my last day. And the mindset of playing for each other and people stepping up when they have to, people making plays when they have to, people straining, and we'll go more in depth on that. But the culmination of all that, and then again, Bob, you and I got to talk to the parents. I got to talk to them at Texas Live when we were tailgating with the Buckeye Crews, and just
saw them before when they're like still a little nervous, like anxiety.
Oh yeah. No, but you know what? Those crazy. It's like it goes back to the appreciation of the coaches. It goes back to, the memories that they've had for 4 years with each other along this journey, and the maturity of their kid and where their kid is now. Like those are the things like parents talk about and stuff. And that's why we do what we do. And then when guys like us and Jake, right, get to go back to our alma maters and see those guys that wore the same uniform that we did, that carry themselves in the manner that make you proud to be their Buckeye brother, it's just fun to then watch that transpire on a huge stage and them having success. And again, the things that they went through, you lost 2 games. You lost 2 games by 4. You lost 1 game by 3 at home to your rival, and then all the social media backlash and all of those different things, but then being able to come together and turn the page, Bob Seger style, and go back to work and then have your best game. And then guess what? Follow that up with another best game. And then go into this game where you didn't necessarily execute perfectly, but you executed when it mattered the most. And you walked out of there with a 14-point victory, having beat the number 9 team in the country, having beat the number 1 team in the country, and now having beat the number 5 team in the country. So now you're sitting in a season where you have 4 top 5 victories, and you're now playing in the national championship game. Why? Because they're playing for one more opportunity to wear the scarlet and gray, playing for one more opportunity to go out and play together as a team, this 2024 version of the Buckeyes.
Gosh, so tremendous. Like, so well put, so exciting for these guys. And like you said, there's so many 4th and 5th year guys who've just been grinding through this to be so close. I'm excited for them, and you start getting beat up at this point in time. But the best part is at this point, like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're going for one more game, and you'll deal with the injuries. You deal with everything afterwards. Like, how do we get to and get through to be able to play one more time for each other? And those guys are battling that right now, as they've had the thing with the playoff, man, the attrition slags, it gets real. And like, I look at those guys and talk about like JT nicking up his ankle, and Denzel Burke, who didn't really play in the second half, and Ryan said he's battling an upper I think extremity injury was the terms that he used. And you see some of the guys like, okay, like trying to figure out exactly, we're beat up, but we got to practice, we got to get better, we got to be ready to rock. So great to see all that, excited to see all that. They've got a little bit of practice here today on Monday, Tuesday, a little bit of time, and then you can start getting into your normal week, the Wednesdays, the Thursdays, Fridays, figure that thing out. They'll travel, I believe, down there on Friday. Saturday morning, they'll have their, player media little day, and then dude, Sunday's day before you're getting into it. So like it's there, and it's on their heels, and hopefully they'll be able to get a chance to celebrate one more time. But before we get to Jake Butt, Attention, parents, athletes, protect what matters most with X-Sport mouth guards, trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. X-Sport mouth guards are scientifically tested to help absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. X-Sport guards feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including patented use of carbon fiber. So they're custom 3D printed right to your own personal grill. For more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication, so you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Go visit them at xsport.com/Bobby. Save today with 15% on your order. X-Sport, protect what matters most. Jake Butt, Big Ten Network, Michigan, coming up next.
Welcome to Big Play, the fastest growing sports media company in America.
I'm gonna keep it straight with you. The reason you should watch our show is because I look good, baby.
Come get some!
Join our millions of fans for live sports talk shows hosted by the top former athletes and sports personalities in the industry.
Ohio, it's my home state.
Obviously, I'm a diehard Cleveland sports fan.
Watch what you want, where you want, when you want. Welcome to Big Play.
Make sure you tune in.
I love you, Cleveland.
All right, welcome back in the program. Our program chat is on fire as we welcome in our guy Jake Butt, and from Michigan, Big Ten Network. Saw him at the game. Saw him, I think, after, before. I don't even know when it was, Jake. The whole thing blends together. But happy to have you on. You got to see this thing up close in person. And in person, what was kind of your big takeaways after watching this game versus maybe watching the rest of the playoff?
Yeah, hey, good to see you guys again, Bobby. It was good to see you down on the field. And Schlegs, maybe get to shake your hand at some point. I'll be down in Atlanta, so hopefully, I can run into you guys. I think my big takeaway though is just the theme, where I can't help but, to me, you don't get to see a special team like what we're seeing with Ohio State every year. I felt Michigan had some of that last year, and I don't think there's even one team where you get to see this on a year-to-year basis. Just the unity and alignment, the leadership, the love these guys have for one another, how they play for one another, that stood out. And I think my big takeaway is I couldn't help but think, that game was tight. It was back and forth. There was certainly adversity, a lot of it self-inflicted with some of the offensive penalties. Sark came in there and gave Ohio State everything they could handle with some of his creative schemes. And, it felt to me like everything that these seniors have been through in their entire careers, not just this season, but this is a senior-heavy team. Everything these guys have been through in their entire careers prepared them for, those moments. And to me, what it looked like is I could just sense an energetic change. You look at the Michigan game, and it certainly felt like Coach Day and the team were trying to prove something to the world. Whereas what we've seen against Tennessee, Oregon, and then now against Texas is a team that knows they don't need to prove anything to anyone because they know they are the better team. Even as that game was tight throughout the entire 60 minutes, I just got the sense that Ohio State knew that they were going to come out on top, and that's a subtle, energetic change that wasn't there in the regular season throughout the whole season.
Jake, that's a great point. I see it as well. What do you give credit to that change, that mindset shift?
I think, desperation is, when your back's against the wall, and desperation it introduces you to yourself. And that Michigan game, that was just shocking for everybody. But of course, it was no more shocking to the world than it was to the players. Then you hear about the team meeting, and I'm usually not a big player-led meeting guy, but something changed in that meeting. Those guys were able to air out some emotions and get reconnected. And I just think that whatever was said in that meeting, there was a realization that the opportunity that this team has was slipping through their hands, and they had a decision to make of what they wanted this season to be. And I would include the coaches in that too, because we've seen some changes that Chip Kelly has implemented. We've seen some changes that Jim Knowles has implemented. And all of a sudden, it's like this ping pong of a terrible moment, a shocking moment, an insane upset to bang. Now we saw, 60 minutes of some of the most impressive football against Tennessee, against Oregon, and now against Texas.
You're a Pickerington guy. Went to Pickerington North. That's where Jack Sawyer's from. Sonny and Lorenzo, a couple Pick Central guys. Ty Hamilton, Pick Central guy. A number of Pickerington guys on that team. I mean, what did you see out of those guys and the play that Jack Sawyer made, and kind of obviously tied in there as well with his play that he made against Michigan and just playing big down this stretch?
Oh, I mean, it was awesome for our hometown of Pickerington. I mean, those are public schools. Like, we're not really recruiting anybody like some of the Catholic schools, some of the bigger schools in, say, Cleveland or Cincinnati. We're homegrown in there. Something's certainly in the water. So it was a point of pride for the city. I've known Jack since he was in like middle school. I got pictures. I got to try to find them of Jack when he was, maybe 12 or 13 years old. And then, of course, just seeing his rise to, at one point, I believe he was the number one player in high school, 5-star recruit. And, he stays home. And I understand what that means, right? Like these are Pickerington, local Columbus kids staying home to Ohio State. Obviously, there was a standard and has been a standard set of winning at the highest level and bringing conference titles and national titles to the Buckeyes. And, for a guy like Jack Sawyer, like this is it. This is it for him. And he's played with his heart on his sleeve all season long. And you have to acknowledge how special that is and almost poetic in a sense for him to have made a key play against Michigan where you think that was the turning play in the game and it didn't work. It didn't end up working in Ohio State's favor, to now making the key play against Texas. Redemption. It's like a Hollywood movie. So I'm just happy for those guys. And I know Mr. and Mrs. Sawyer, his parents, I saw them down on the field after the game. Just happy for their family and happy for those guys for what they've been able to overcome.
Go ahead, Bob.
Well, outside of obviously Jack's huge play at the end, was there a turning point? I mean, did you see anything that happened during the game? I mean, did you think there was an advantage anywhere? Like just kind of general football gamesmanship of understanding what was going on in the back and forth between that game?
Man, I felt like the Ohio State was the better team. Like Trey, that was such an uncharacteristic penalty by Trey. And I would love to know what was said to Travion Henderson when he punched the guy in the face or did whatever he did to get that personal foul, because that's like the exact opposite of Travion Henderson. But before that play, there the Buckeyes go. They're driving down the field. I believe it was going to be a 14-0 score if Ohio State went down and finished that drive. And it just felt like the Buckeyes were in complete control of this game. And then for the next 3 or 4 drives, the same thing happened where Ohio State's driving and then a penalty stops them. So to me, it just felt like Ohio State was the better team, but little, they got a good shot from Texas and little penalties caused that game to be close. The turning point, though, was the Travion Henderson screen going into half where Texas put together that long drive. They hit the running back on the wheel route out of the backfield. And you're thinking, wow, as much as Ohio State's dominated this half, what a big score for Texas. And then I cannot understand how they brought pressure in that situation and were not prepared for a screen. But I give Travion and the Buckeyes credit there. So it was a game. It's kind of what we expected, where we knew Texas and Ohio State going all the way back to like July. We knew these were two of the best rosters in college football. We know Sark is one of the great offensive minds. Getting to see Sark duel against Jim Knowles, that was special. But ultimately, that it wasn't just the talent of Ohio State. I think it was the unity that propelled them to victory.
Unity. Yeah, Dave Chappelle style. So let's go to the other game. And you have, Penn State, Notre Dame, a lot of similarities, a lot of things happened to that. Penn State didn't have a reception by a wide receiver in the entirety of the game. Talk a little bit about Notre Dame and your feelings about them, how they won that game, And what are some things that you feel that they have to do to be able to beat Ohio State in the national championship game?
Everything I just said about Ohio State applies to Notre Dame, which that is a unified team. Like it's just something when you watch them play, you're like, man, those guys play together. And like Jim Harbaugh would always tell us, hey, there's nothing like being on a team. And you know what that means when you've been a part of a special team. And I get this. I see that with Ohio State. I see that with Notre Dame. Why Notre Dame won and why I'm excited for this matchup. You mentioned 0 receptions, 0 yards for Penn State's receivers. They play a ton of man coverage, and that is a stout elite secondary, and they bring pressure, and they have an ability to get after the quarterback. And then on the flip side, they're able to run the ball. That is a stout Penn State defensive front. Abdul Carter, Denai Dennis Sutton, Zane Durant, Kobe King, all those guys, they made life hard on Penn State. Or they made life hard on Notre Dame in terms of their ability to stop Notre Dame's rushing game. But Notre Dame was able to win in the margins down the stretch. I also give a ton of credit to Marcus Freeman from a coaching standpoint. Marcus Freeman had his team prepared for those big moments. How about the fact that backup quarterback comes in right before half, and that guy was prepared physically, mentally, emotionally? That was a huge drive where he let his Irish down to get some points going into half. Because it looked like Penn State was going to take control of that game. So Marcus Freeman's a phenomenal coach and a phenomenal leader, and he's got that entire program going in the same direction. As far as this matchup goes, I cannot see a world where Notre Dame is going to play as much man coverage against these Buckeyes wide receivers as they have against all other opponents this year. But I don't think they're going to become a full zone team either. So what I'm curious is Will Howard's preparation and Chip Kelly's ability to use shifts and motions to start to reveal some things defensively. Notre Dame is going to mix in zone coverage. Is Will Howard prepared for that? Can he avoid the big mistakes? Can he avoid the big turnovers? Because what Notre Dame does defensively is they force a ton of turnovers. That's been a big storyline for their defense. They're going to play man coverage, but they're going to mix in zone coverage. Is Will Howard prepared for that? And can he avoid the big mistakes? Because I just think if Ohio State doesn't beat themselves, Notre Dame's not going to beat them. This roster is just that good.
So, it's interesting that you bring that up where the zone versus man, and people are like, well, you can't imagine they'd play that much, of zone or play that much man. They've always been a zone team, or they play that much zone. They've always been a man team. And I get that. And it's a little bit different right now, Jake. I mean, we played in an era where, like, typically this would have been a bowl game where you would have time and preparation. I mean, you get like 7-8 days to be able to do that. How difficult is it going to be for any significant changes, in your opinion, to happen for kind of either one of these teams?
I can't imagine there's going to be, when you talk about significant changes at this point, there won't be significant changes. Notre Dame has the ability to go zone coverage. It's not 100% man. So I think what it really is mixing with those percentage points. They've practiced and repped and played zone coverage and done some different fire zones and brought pressure and played zone behind it. So I think it's a matter of how often do they go to that defensively relative to how often they've been playing man coverage. But, that's what these games are about right now. You have, 15, 16 games of tape on both of your opponents. So the scouting is out there. Which coach can adjust and add in some wrinkles to give their team a schematic advantage? One thing I really, Marcus Freeman is going to be aggressive on special teams. We've seen that. He's going to come in with some trick plays. I've been shocked that Ohio State really doesn't go to trick plays. In the Michigan-Ohio State game, I knew Michigan was going to have a number of trick plays. I've expected Ohio, but they just, for whatever reason, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I don't watch every snap, but are you guys shocked that they don't really go to 2 or 3 trick plays in some of these big games?
Yeah, it is a little surprising that they haven't gotten into anything yet. And maybe against Texas and Oregon, when you're winning by that much, you kind of save some stuff up. And I don't know, maybe against or Tennessee and Oregon rather than against Texas when it's a little bit tighter and maybe you had some guys and a lot of it, Jake, as you know, is kind of look predicated. I know they had some different things lined up and you just don't get the look that you want. So you kind of change and shift out of it. But it is intriguing to see. And maybe they just view like, hey, a go ball to Jeremiah is just as good as trying to run something else. I mean, I guess I on percentage-wise of what you're trying to do. I want to ask one more, about Penn State and Notre Dame before we get you out of here. As you watch that game, Penn State had a nice lead, and Notre Dame was a team that has kind of played from ahead the majority of the season, especially the second 2/3 once they've kind of got the corrections from Northern Illinois. Were you surprised that Notre Dame was able to kind of claw their way back in there with how they play and what Penn State was doing early on?
I'm sure a little bit. And especially because, Riley Leonard, I wasn't confident they were going to be able to win the game, on Riley Leonard's arm. But he made some big time throws. I mean, you're talking about back shoulder throws. You're talking even key runs. He made some key plays. And that to me, it's beautiful to watch. And I got so much appreciation for it because Notre Dame, after they lost to NIU earlier in the year, their backs have been against the wall from that moment. Like they've been playing, had to have been playing flawless football where at any point, if they slipped up, they wouldn't be here at this moment. And yet what they've done is been perfect since then. And they've beat some phenomenal teams, taking down Indiana and then Georgia and then Penn State, and they're doing it their way. I got a lot of respect for them. And I think that's something to watch in this game because, Ohio State is Goliath. Like this is an NFL roster across the board. Like this team is littered with NFL talent, and Notre Dame has it too, but not to that level. And yet what Notre Dame does have is that unity and that belief in one another that no matter what the circumstances are, they're going to find a way to win. Ohio State, obviously, as we talked about earlier, feels that exact same way. So I find it beautiful that in the world of the transfer portal and NIL, there was a few years ago, people were saying this is the death of college football. And college football has like a certain spirit to it. Like listening to the bands play down, at that game is just, it's beautiful. These two teams are like the antithesis of what the football alarmists were saying we'd never see again. Like these are completely aligned teams that play and love for one another and love their coaches. That's rare these days. And I'm excited to see how that emotional side of this game plays out.
Absolutely. Well, Jake, we appreciate your time today, sir. Thank you for spending up with us. We know you had a big travel day. Got big travel heading back out to Atlanta. I will see you down there. Hopefully we'll get our guy Schlegs there too. And hopefully we can come away with a Big Ten victory.
No doubt. Appreciate you guys. See you down there.
See you, buddy.
As Jake Butt does a great job, BTN, phenomenal former Michigan guy. And you know what? From Pickerington, Ohio, where the Styles, Hamilton, Sawyer, all those guys hail from as well. All right, coming up next, there's two players I think that maybe go a little bit under the radar with how well they play in the game and some of the plays that they made. Tell you who those guys are next on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, two guys, Schlegs.
Two guys
on here that one of them played a ton in the second half. The other guy, has played here at Ohio State and has done some good things, but probably overshadowed a little bit from one negative play a couple years ago in his career. G. Scott, probably known most for the 2022 headbutt. Huge play against Oregon to obviously start the game, and has been a very productive member of this offense. He's not the flashy wide receiver anymore. He moved to tight end. He's done a good job improving his blocking. But if we can toss that up, Pat, like this play right here, it's 3rd and 9, Schlegs, and it's remarkable, and his ability as he catches the ball, spins through there. That last dive,
help
change it from being what would have been maybe 4th and 6, 4th and 5, as you see him lay out right there and reach. It gets to 4th and 2. And the subsequent play was the Will Howard run, which he got tackled by the 20. But if you don't get to that position and get to those extra 3 yards that he battled his ass off for, Will Howard, you're probably not running the quarterback there. And it's a different situation by a long shot.
Yeah, every play matters, man. Like I'm watching it myself, right? You guys already saw it, but to me, Bob, this is the beauty of being a coach. This is the beauty of being a dad, and it's just the culmination of your life's experiences. And I watch a play like that. Like that's attitude, that's effort, that's being fanatical, right, about your craft and your team, and that you're straining. That doesn't just happen by flipping on a switch. Like, you just don't go like, I'm going to spill on this play. Right now, I know my team needs me. I'm just going to go do it if I get the ball. It doesn't happen that way, man. That happens in competitive excellence in the weight room, whether you're holding 150-pound dumbbells or you're doing, bike sprints against somebody and you get pissed off and we have to talk about the why. And it's just, man, you know what? I'm going to keep stacking days. I'm going to stack days. I'm going to stack days. I'm going to stack practices. I'm going to stack games. And we've seen it like this college football playoff, man. He's had some huge plays, but probably none bigger than that play because of what it led to and how it sustained that drive, even though Will got tripped up by the freaking turf. So anyways, that being said, that's where I go back. I go back to those lessons, and that mentality shifted in the January, in the February, in the Marches of the world, and why it's so imperative that you have that strength component in your program of competitive excellence. Like, that's where the magic happens when building a team, and this sustains it throughout the year. But kudos to him. I think very, very highly of G and what he means to this team, but none of it embodies his maturity over those years, Bobs, that you alluded to be able to go out there and make a play like this when nobody else is looking. Oh, he didn't get the first down. No, he set you up for 4th and 2 and change the dynamic of that game, and especially the play call in that situation.
It was huge. It was a massive play, and it was all effort, all toughness, all heart, like all those things you embody. Like you talk about the love of your brothers and everything else. My goodness, it was all encompassed there. Another guy played really well, and maybe didn't have a ton of stats. I don't even know if he recorded any stats. You got a young corner, so Denzel Burke didn't really play much. I don't even know if he played at all in the second half. Battling, I think what Ryan referred to, Pat, as we throw that up there, is maybe an upper extremity injury. And so because of that, Jermaine Matthews played. And people asked, on Twitter, wow, did they bench Denzel? Is he playing bad? I'm like, no, he wasn't playing bad. He was playing really well in that game. They weren't giving up anything. But Jermaine Matthews came in there. He was ready when his number was called and went in and played in the second half of that football game and played really, really well. And wasn't even really noticed by many because he was playing at such a high level as a corner. If you're not getting noticed, it's probably because you're doing a good job. Yeah. And Jermaine Matthews did a heck of a job. He's a Cincinnati guy. And so, as you said, he's got like 80 little pit bulls in his stomach. Like, he's all about the battle.
Yeah, he was over there chanting SEC, right? Like, you got to, all that stuff, right? Which that's part of Maine, right? That's who he is. And he's always smiling. He's always down to go compete. But that goes back even to the wide receivers in zone 6 and competitive excellence and mat drills and competitive excellence in spring football. And like, you get to that level to where when your number's called, you can respond, right? So boom. And I think it was like, that's why Twitter kind of erupted with it because, Denzel had the missed tackle and probably when he had the upper body extremity injury that he came out of, right? They're like, oh, they benched him because the guy got a 23-yard gain. No, something happened. Jermaine steps in and does what he's supposed to do. And that's what? Be a great corner at The Ohio State University. He did that. But that's also, you go back to even the year before, Bob, when we talked about about depth and getting live bullets with your backups is so vital. And Jermaine is viewed at, just like KJ is viewed at, as a starter. Like, they think of him in that regard. So they have no problem putting him in any situation because they've practiced that way. They've earned that responsibility. And so when you put him in there, they're just calling their game plan. They ain't doing anything else. Like, you are a dude, and he's going to be the next dude here at Ohio State, but he's already performing that way. And it's great to have those type of guys on your team. And again, you talk about it, Bob, like, look at the NFL right now, guys. Like, we talked about the college football playoff and the blowouts in the first round. The daggum NFL ones was like the average of win was 19 points versus 17 points in the college football playoff. But you know what? If you play in the first round, you still got to win 4 daggum games. It's a battle of attrition, and it bodes well for the Buckeyes to be able to have that type of experience depth going into a game like this when both sides are reeling, having now played 16 games.
Well, that's part of it, is that attrition, Slags. And, you were a part of this in the offseason, knowing that, like, Mick and Ryan had sat down and planned this out. Because, like you said, you got Denzel, they got nicked up. You had JT, who hurt his ankle, saw him spat that up. Everybody's looking at Will's hand. You got the big, like, tumor that, freaking getting his left hand smashed during the game. I mean, that's real. Like, and you have all these little injuries that are coming up. And this is why it was appropriate to try to manage reps during the season, manage your play count, get everybody ready, how you're going to handle your team's conditioning, how you're going to take care of their body and get them in peak physical condition while still managing, like, what that physical toll is like, the pounding on their body. And so they're in a good spot here, excited to kind of see what they're doing moving forward and how they're going to continue to build. All right, we're going to put a quick pin in that. We got headline Slags. And
what do you got? What do you
pretty
got?
good one, Slags. We got some Sark sound and some things like that. So we'll dive into that here next on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Welcome to Big Play, the fastest growing sports media company in America.
I'm gonna keep it straight with you. The reason you should watch our show is because I look good, baby.
Come get some!
Join our millions of fans for live sports talk shows hosted by the top former athletes and sports personalities in the industry.
Ohio, it's my home state.
Obviously, I'm a diehard Cleveland sports fan.
Watch what you want, where you want, when you want. Welcome to Big Play.
Make sure you tune in.
I love you, Cleveland.
All right, Schlags, we got our headlines now. And probably the one is I'm going to throw up here first is we got Steve Sarkisian, who's head coach at Texas. Talking about Quinn Ewers and everything that he has been through, everything he was a part of. And the guy played pretty well during the game. Obviously got sacked 4 times, the last one being the roughest one, and it ended up costing them the game by his former roommate. How about that, Schlags? He got getting murdered in your own shop by your buddy, your guy who you live with. But Quinn Ewers been through a lot, and there's a lot of people at Ohio State who came up here and took money. I go, he didn't get any money from Ohio State. And I had to correct some people about that on the plane on the way down. I go, he had a deal set up. You couldn't take money for NIL as a high school player in Texas. You still can in the state of Ohio, which is absolutely ludicrous. So he reclassified, enrolled, came to Ohio State because Tom Herman, I think, was at Texas at the time, wanted to come here and play for Ryan. He came here, didn't really work out. I think he wanted to get back home. Things just happen. And maybe if he never reclassifies, he comes here and things work out. I don't know. But he wanted to go back. And so, Pat, can we throw up that on Sark talking about, being a head coach and talking what it was like to coach Quinn?
I'm super proud of Quinn. And he's taught me a lot, probably unknowingly to him, because what he went through every year dealing with injury, what he goes through where I don't know if he'd ever live up to the standards of what everybody thinks he's supposed to be. But at the end of the day, all he did was show up every day and work and be a great leader and be a great teammate. And that's a real credit to him, because human nature in this day and age is to look at Twitter, to look at Instagram, to look at social media and articles written in fan boards and whatever else. And you can ride that emotional roller coaster of whatever you think public opinion could be. And that could be the opinion of 1 or 100 or whatever. But this guy never did that. All he did was come to work every day. All he did was be a great teammate. All he did was work on his craft, get himself as healthy as he could when he was injured, and then show up. And when it was time to show up, and maybe outside of the first 2 games, I don't think he played a game this year 100% healthy. And he fought through everything, never complained about it one time. And I think that's why he has so much respect from his teammates.
Schlegs, Quinn Ewers was supposed to be great. Then you have Arch Manning behind you, and he battled some injuries. Arch played a little bit. People wanted Arch to play more. And I think having that perspective with Sark, as you look back on it, understanding like no matter what he did, it was never going to be good enough for the Texas fans. Like nothing. I'm curious to see kind of where his career leads and what happens, because I don't know if he'll go to the NFL or if he'll choose ultimately to go play somewhere else for another year. It looks like everything's teed up for Arch, who we'll talk about that a little later when he got in the game. I mean, I think he was one and done, but the shot that he got
almost had a fumble. Yeah.
Yeah. He almost coughed it up, but you can talk about coaching guys with expectations and how you manage that. And I think that was very important for Sark. I think he's a really good coach and has done a pretty good job at Texas this year. I thought he's handled that about as well as you could.
Yeah, I like that he alluded to certain things, right? And I, as a coach, Bob, like literally wrote in our show prep, like, don't take criticism from somebody you wouldn't take advice from. And I think there's that goes whether you're an adult or whether you're an adult that's an athlete in college or the pros, or an adult that's like on Facebook or whatever.
Would you say don't take advice from someone that gives you a wooden nickel? Is that what?
Yeah. Don't ever take those either, right, Bob? Right, Bob. So but I just think there's lessons in what he just articulated. And to me, it was about this. You could have somebody that everybody believes is the guy that needs to be the job, but it's also the coach that's watching it day in and day out. And if you were to make that change, what would it do for your team? And he already said the why behind Quinn Ewers being the quarterback. It was not that he couldn't live up to the expectations. It was just the fact that I think that he felt so strongly about Quinn as a leader coming in, day out. The guys needed him, right? He was still the best option for the position to lead them to success. And when he was available, he was playing because those dudes on the team rallied around him. And so as a coach, I'm happy that he was able to say that on like a little farewell when he had the opportunity. Good for him to understanding that and what that impact is on Quinn as he moves forward in his journey. Yeah, sure, you have a Manning in the background, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's the end-all be-all or to have been able to, bring a comeback against Ohio State when in the one play that he had, I literally tweeted out, BS, that was a fumble. I don't know, probably was close. I don't know if his elbow was down. I know his knee wasn't down. The ball certainly was loose, but it wasn't. It's called what it is, Buckeyes. But again, Quinn Ewers, I thought he did a really, really nice job, and hopefully he has a really good career moving forward.
All right. Well, that's it for our headlines. Coming up next, we got our tailgate talk brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. We answer your comments, your questions, all here next on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Get the most out of work, life, and all your outdoor adventures with top-selling upgrades for your truck. Guaranteed fit, free shipping, easy install, expert support, and thousands of dealers just a click away. Bring your truck to life. Real Truck. Upgrade today and save between $50 and $400 on select Real Truck products. Visit realtruck.com/specials.
All right, now we're into our tailgate talk, brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. Bring your truck to life at realtruck.com. Get a winter ready. They've got all kinds of things, truck, Jeep, Bronco, for the interior, the exterior. They will keep it looking good and looking sharp. Continue to upgrade it, whether it's winches, the bumpers, the bed covers, the Jeep tops, all of those things they have. They're still running their special promo Schlegs. You go there, you spend $100, use promo code Bobby at checkout. You get your free Real Truck hat. How about that? Promo code Bobby, spend $100 at Real Truck. Super easy to do. Bring your truck to life like Schlegel and I did. All right. Some tailgate talk, some questions, Schlegs. We will start with this. This is from Wig Out 24/7. This is a pretty good question. Do you think the unsportsmanlike penalty on the second in the second half on our O lineman cleaning up the pile was justified? Is that on Sareveld? Or is that Sareveld Austin? That's what I thought.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think it was on Austin, Bob. Dude, I mean, I was watching. I didn't hear a whistle. I know he was coming down.
There was you didn't hear the whistle, Schlegs, because there was no whistle.
Exactly. So, hey, man, 4 to 6 A to B +2. Absolutely not. And here's the thing. He knocked him off of it. Did the guy fall down?
I think he fell.
He might have fallen down, but it wasn't stopping. And you've seen other guys come through and push the pile, right? Like, he was just getting them off. Like, it was just different. And it wasn't like he hit him and like landed on him and stood over him. Like, that's what I didn't necessarily like. They never blew a whistle. They never stopped. And then you make that call, it stops the drive. So no, I agree with you, Wig Out. It was not a foul.
Well, and here's the thing, and talking to, I don't know if it's Justin I talked to Fry about this or one of their coaches, and like, 15 years ago, you say that's a great job. Like, you're playing to, I had a coach Schlegs once tell me, you play to the echo of the whistle. And the reality is, if I think it was Trey, maybe it was Q, but whoever, he's like, if they get stripped right there, they're going to call it a fumble.
Yeah.
And so that's what's the crap is. There was no whistle that was blown. And I get it. Like, it looks bad. The guy ran in, knocked him down, but they had not blown it dead yet. So if you haven't blown it dead and you get a strip, like, dude, they're going to give them possession. So it's a real no-win situation for the offensive line, which that absolutely stinks. Austin's running down there. He's playing hard. He's doing exactly what you want him to do and exactly what you think he should do, and everything. This is coming, Schlegs. This is our last one for today from NASCAR Scott. Interesting. This heard the tough word and have to run this morning. And Ryan already still has the message from Lou Holtz that Ohio State is not tough. I hope Day can put that behind him and not try to prove he can run the ball. Should have learned his lesson against Michigan, open it up and score.
That's funny. And I'll say why it's funny. Penn State ran for 204. Just throw that out there. So again, it's not running the ball to be tough. I think the lesson learned was do what you got to do to win the game. So that might be running the football. It also might be play action pass. And it also might be deep shots and over and, man beaters. Like, it's going to be whatever it's got to be to win a game. At the end of the day, the beautiful thing is, guys, we're playing a national championship. There is no other game. You're one of two. You're one of two of 134.
Here's the best part, Schlegs, about that. In the last 3 games, Ohio State has won, and especially 2 of them won very convincingly. And they won Texas by, 14. But let's be honest, it didn't really feel like it didn't feel like a 2-score game. I mean, Texas, it was a 14-point swing as they're knocking on the door. Of those 3 games, Schlegs, do you know how many games Ohio State won the running battle and run it fairly soundly?
All 3.
Yeah, all 3 of those games. And so I understand. Who was that from? My guy NASCAR Scott. I get it. All right. And I understand that. You can run the football effectively and still win the rushing battle while still throwing it and doing some other things and moving the pocket, getting the ball to Trey and all of those other things. Get the ball to him out of the backfield on screens. I'll come to you in a second. Schlegs, being able to push the ball down the field some, and then you can still run it and still have a ton of success.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I say learned his lesson. I think Ryan understands there's some of the shortcomings they had against Michigan. It's going to be in a dome. The weather will be great. You can throw it. You can run it. They will blend it and mix it together. Running the football will be a big part of this because that's the big part of the Ohio State offense. And so they're not going to change and abandon who they are at this point.
Yeah, my only point is this: Notre Dame, Penn State. Notre Dame won 27-24. Guess what? Both teams ran for 42 yards. Notre Dame, 116. Penn State, 204. Right? What did Notre Dame do? They had a couple of turnovers, but at the end, they were able to steal some possessions, and they were able to run out the clock. Yeah. Right? So by being able to run the football and move the chains, that's what Notre Dame's going to want to do to us. They're going to want to steal possessions. They're going to want to condense this game. They're very similar to what Michigan did is what they're going to do. The difference is that in this one, how are we going to block it up? Are we going to go back to zone? No, we're going to do what we do. You're going to see, gap. You're going to see counters and powers. And you're going to see that. You're going to see play action pass. You're going to see, hey man, we got single high safety. Let's freaking throw the rock. The difference is, I think after that kind of, loss, it's we just got to do whatever we got to do to win a game, however that is. Yeah. And that's how they're going to game plan this.
And that's the best part. I mean, smart coaches, you figure it out. You figure out if you have made some mistakes, there's opportunities there to learning experiences, and you go there and be able to get it done. And so Ohio State, they're going to run it. They're going to throw it, run a little bit differently. The O-line is they're playing a lot better, Schlegs, than what they've been able to do. And against Texas, they won the time of possession. Winning time of possession is important. That matters. Especially when you have a great defense, because it helps keep them fresh. This Buckeye defense is great. So if you don't ask them to go out there and play 85 snaps and say, hey, just play 60 to 65, they're going to give you one hell of a football game. So, I don't think that they're going to throw it every play. I think they'll air it out plenty. I promise you that. And Ryan and Chip will have plenty in the bag for Notre Dame. All right, that's it for Tailgate Talk today. Keep firing away your questions, comments, throw them. Obviously on Twitter, you can throw them in the YouTube chat here. We'll get to those things coming up here the rest of this week. Answer all your questions. Schlegs and I should both be down in Atlanta ready to rock for the game. So excited to take you all the way there. All right, stay locked in for Schlegs' parting thoughts here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Get the most out of work, life, and all your outdoor adventures with top-selling upgrades for your truck. Guaranteed fit, free shipping, easy install, expert support, and thousands of dealers just a click away. Bring your truck to life. Real Truck. Upgrade today and save between $50 and $400 on select Real Truck products. Visit realtruck.com/specials.
All right, welcome back in as we wrap up the show. Give us your parting thoughts by Mr. Anthony Schlegel.
Yeah, parting thoughts are this. Go ahead and throw it up there. Great quote by our guy, Donovan Jackson, a.k.a. Donnie, a.k.a. he's from Texas.
D-Jack.
We're gonna take what they give us, being able to execute, man. It's a drop your nuts moment right there. Talking about Ohio State 13-play drive, 88-yard scoring drive versus Texas. And
it's 7 minutes, too. It was a grinder.
It did. It was a grinder, man. It was not the pepper grinder, but a grinder. And, it's one of those things, and I always like to say drop your sack and attack, but that's what they did. And guess what? It wasn't like this just all of a sudden happened. They had the same thing to win a Penn State game. And there's another great one that we'll show later about the defense. But, guys, there's a lot of these moments for this Buckeye team, and that's what they're feeding off. Like all the work that we put in, all the training that we put in, we're having success on the field. It just continues to breed that confidence, and that's these type of moments right there to win a game, to score a touchdown versus Notre Dame. These are the things that you have to keep stacking them every single week. They know it. They've seen it. They believe in each other. Excited to continue to talk about it all week with you, Bob.
Absolutely. Stay tuned in here. We'll be back 12:30 tomorrow with our guy, Mr. 8-Ball. Lathan Ransom will be joining us again tomorrow talking about the game and preparation for Notre Dame. See you at 12:30 for the Bobby Carpenter Show.